We are back. We are back again for an extra episode of Nathaniel Talks Ball this week because there's some crazy stuff going on this weekend. And I thought, I'm going to have to hop on and talk about it because there is some stuff being reported that is making my blood boil, ladies and gentlemen. There's some stuff that is making my blood boil, bro. Like, it's so hot in my room already. I've got 2 fans on and I've got my window wide open. Yeah, so I'm hot as it is, bro. But my head is getting even hotter by reading some of the players that Manchester City have been linked with, right? And you've seen it in the title of the stream. You've probably seen it on Twitter, bro. You've seen it everywhere, right? Arsenal were linked with Vinicius Jr. after winning the Premier League, right? That's a champions signing right there. After winning the Premier League, you go and sign a superstar. And Manchester City, who are going to be title contenders, hopefully next season, wanting to get back to the top of the table after not winning the Premier League for the last 2 seasons, want to sign Pedro Neto. And now, right, I don't want to sound like a bit of a spoilt brat, right? I don't want to sound like these City fans that are ungrateful, right? And when they get linked with a player, every time it's, no, they're not good enough. Why are we not going to sign the world's best, right? I'm not one of those people. But Pedro Neto, Enzo, like, Maresca, bro, yeah? Maresca, I really wanted you to be City manager after Pep, but, bro, you can't keep bringing the dross over from Chelsea, bro. You know firsthand these players aren't good. And you wanna bring them to Manchester City, like Maresca, please, bro, please, give me some strength, bro. Like, it's too early in your tenure to be moving mad to this degree. Pedro Neto, bro. We'll get more onto Pedro Neto later, right? We'll get more onto Pedro Neto later, right? Obviously, a lot to talk about, right? There's a lot of stuff that has happened in the last few days since I went live on Thursday. There's been a lot of things reported, right? Obviously, I spoke about Rodri on Thursday, and then it came out that he's agreed personal terms with Real Madrid, and Real Madrid are going to be making an offer within, this summer, and they want to sign him this summer. So it makes everything I said earlier in the week redundant. I literally cut up that stream segment, uploaded it, and then as soon as I uploaded it, it came out that Real Madrid are going to make an offer for Rodri. So everything I said was absolutely rendered useless, which is always good. Lamar, my boy, I know you're going to be gassed to sign Rodri. I know you're going to be gassed, and I'm going to have to hate on it every second, bro. Like, I hated Real Madrid anyway, but they've now got even more of a hater within me. I'm Real Madrid's biggest op. Real Madrid are my big stop. I'm Real Madrid's biggest stop. I'll be praying on Real Madrid's downfall every single day, right? And like I said before, I think I brought this upon myself, right? Because if we look at my YouTube profile picture, my YouTube channel icon, guys, what is my YouTube channel icon? It is me at the Bernabeu with a Rodri shirt on, trying to aura farm because I was delusional enough to think that Rodri would never go to Real Madrid, and I was trying to aura farm, but unfortunately, he is going to be moving to Real Madrid, and now I look a tad bit silly. So I do need to change that at some point. Huge Nathaniel knows ball L. That's not something you get very often because, like I said, I'm a prime knower of ball. I know so much about the sport of football. Like, if your head size was like actually determined on how much you know, when it comes to the topic of football, I'd look like Megamind. I'd look like Vincent Kompany. Do you know what I'm trying to say? That's how much football I know. Right? So, we are going to be losing Rodri, which is a huge shame. Because obviously, replacing Pep Guardiola, replacing Bernardo Silva, replacing John Stones, and replacing Rodri in the same summer, like, replacing one of those is almost impossible by itself. But having to replace all 4 of them at the same time, It's not ideal, is it, guys? It really is not ideal. It's not ideal. Like, cool, you could say we've got the Rodri replacement in Anderson. We've also keep being reported like it does every summer Well, I say every summer. He's only been here for 2 summers. But as it keeps getting reported, Nico Gonzalez apparently wants to leave as well. So that leaves us with even less midfield depth, which means Anderson will be doing Rodri shifts. So Anderson's legs are going to be gone within 12 months. It is getting a bit dark. It's getting a bit dark in that position. It is getting a tad bit dark. So if Rodri's going to go, we need to try hijack this Bruno G move. And I don't think we're going to be able to do it. Because there is no way that... Oh, big up Luke. I'm not going to lie, because I can see it on the small screen, in your channel picture there, I thought you had an Arsenal top on. Nah, I'm sorry. I got a bit baffled, bro. I think I need glasses. I think I need to put my glasses on. Bro, my eyesight has just failed me. I thought you had an Arsenal top on in your channel icon. And I was about to be asking some serious questions of you. But then I took a bit of a glance closer. But yeah, I think I might. Yeah, I think it might be over for my eyesight. I think Specsavers is calling my name. Specsavers might be calling my name. I don't know if you can hear that off in the distance. But yeah, I don't think Arsenal are gonna have another signing hijack from them. Obviously, we saw what happened with Morgan Rogers and Chelsea. I do think Arsenal dodged a bullet there. I do think they dodged a bullet. As much as I think Rogers is good, spending that amount of money on Rogers is a bit mad, especially when Manchester United obviously got Tielemans for about £35 million activating his release clause, and it is now being reported that they're close to agreeing a deal for Ollie Watkins for £35 million. They'd be getting 2 of Villa's best players, who are obviously older than Rodgers, right? We've obviously got to take that into account. But 2 players I think were more important to Villa than Rodgers for less than what one club is getting Rodgers for. I just think... But again, we all know what my opinion is on midfielders going for £100+ million. We all... I will keep repeating it until I'm dead, basically. My opinion. Until inflation goes up again and we're spending £200 million on Alexis McAllister and 100 mil is just what gets you a bang average player, I will keep banging on about how no midfielder on this planet is worth £100 million because of the way people view the game. The way people view the game and the way people judge transfer fees and price tags is goals and assists. As much as you want to deny that, that is true. And I'll repeat this every single stream where we talk about a player going for a stupid amount of Great British pounds, right? The way even me sometimes, the way everybody else judges a footballer and their price tag and tries to justify their price tag is goals and assists. And that is a fact. That is a fact. Huge fact, right? So when you've got Caicedo, Enzo, Rice, Anderson all going for £100 million+, how many of those have I said, obviously excluding Anderson because he's not played a competitive game for City yet, but the other 3 I've just mentioned, how many of them have been a success when we look at their price tag? Oh, okay, Declan Rice. But why has Declan Rice been a success? Because he has elevated the level of Arsenal's midfield so high that he was a game changer. He was a level raiser. But when we look at Enzo and Caicedo, they haven't really risen the levels of Chelsea's midfield. They've just got them to a average standard for a sort of average Premier League football player. And when you watch Caicedo and you watch Enzo, you'll think they'll play good, but then you remember how much they've been bought for, and then you're kind of like, no, these guys are still overrated. And the price tag will always be subconsciously in people's minds. Again, Grealish. I don't think Grealish was that bad for City. But we'll all say that he was bad because he cost £100 million and he wasn't getting 30 to 35 goals in a season or 20 to 25 assists in a season just in the Premier League. And that's it. I'm not going to talk about... Actually, that's a lie. I'm about to say I'm not going to talk about my problems with £100 million signings, but we know I'm going to go off on this tangent at least 5 more times. And it might even be 5 more times in this stream because it's something that I actually feel that passionate about. But enough of me monologuing. I'm waffling for the time being, right? Let's actually look at some of the stuff. What has just happened there? Some of the stuff that is being discussed on the timeline on X.com when it comes to transfers, right? So obviously, we all saw yesterday. We all saw this yesterday from David Ornstein himself, exclusive, and I even posted this on my community page on the channel, right? Arsenal exploring move to sign Vinicius Jr. from Real Madrid. Interest is in the early stages, plus clubs not yet in talks, but the idea approved at all levels. Much rests on contract process as no breakthrough yet, and Real Madrid do not want a free exit, obviously, with Vinicius's contract running down, potential ideas that he might not renew his contract. Obviously, I went on We Are the South stand yesterday, and Dap said that he thinks that there was the potential that Vinicius would not want to extend his contract with Jose Mourinho as the manager of Real Madrid after Mourinho tried to dismiss the outrage over the racial abuse that obviously Vinicius was subject to against Benfica in the Champions League last season. Obviously, he was subject to some racial abuse on the pitch, and sort of Mourinho tried to sort of dismiss that and say that Benfica's not a racist club because Eusebio was their best ever player and he was black, which was a very tone-deaf and stupid statement for Mourinho to make, especially for someone that has been a huge campaigner of African footballers in the past. So that could have potentially rubbed Vinicius the wrong way, and obviously it was being reported that Arsenal, champions of the Premier League and UCL finalists, runners-up in the UCL last season, were interested in signing him. And obviously, of course, that is a champion signing. You know, Arsenal have that pull power now because they are Premier League champions. They're not just contenders anymore for the Premier League. They're not just one of the big clubs in the Premier League. They are at the moment the biggest club in the Premier League based on the fact that they won the Premier League, right? But then it is being reported by the Madrid Zone, the break-in, Vinicius Jr. wants to stay and Real Madrid want to renew him. The player will not make it hard. He wants to stay at Real Madrid. Of course, why wouldn't you? When you actually think of it on a basic level, why would you not want to stay at Real Madrid? If Real Madrid want you and they're giving you game time, why would you not want to stay at Real Madrid? That would be a stupid thing to do, right? Although maybe it could be like a Neymar Messi situation where Vinicius kind of feels like since Mbappe's come in, it's kind of stole his shine. Obviously, might still be a bit disheartened that he didn't win the Ballon d'Or in 2024, and then obviously after that Mbappe came in. He's not really been the main man. Obviously Vinicius plays off of the left. Mbappe is a number 9 that likes to sort of drift out to the left because he's a left winger by trade. Of course, Vinicius might feel like his sort of spotlight is being stolen by Mbappe, and he might want to go somewhere where he is going to be the main man, or he is going to be on par with their main man, because obviously I think he would go to Arsenal and be their best attacker, but he still wouldn't be their main man because Saka just has that star boy factor, that one of their own factor that is very hard to displace, especially at Arsenal, right? You know, like the sentimental value and sort of the connection that Arsenal fans have to Saka. It wouldn't make Vinicius their main man, but he'd be their best attacker 100%, right? So that's kind of the main reason why I think Vinicius would be open to leaving Real Madrid. But obviously it is being reported that he wants to stay and Real Madrid are happy to renew him, and they don't want him to leave, and especially they don't want him to leave on a free. They don't want to have the Real Madrid transfer method basically applied to them, right? Which is fair enough. You don't want to lose a player of Vinicius, his ability for free. Like we know that, right? So, but while Arsenal are being linked with Vinicius, one of the best attackers in the world. He might not have had the best 2 previous seasons, and he might not have had the best World Cup, but we know what Vinicius' talent is like, right? We saw what he was doing, the 2-man step he was doing with Benzema in the UCL in 2022. We don't need to be reminded of that. He was going crazy. We know how good Vinicius is, right? Big game player as well. Very, very big game player, right? While Arsenal are being linked with him, one of the best attackers in the world, and making signings or being linked with players that champions should be linked with, potential title contenders Manchester City that are coming into a new era at the club after Pep Guardiola leaves, and they need to make a statement showing that they're not just a Pep Guardiola club, and that they were successful before Guardiola and they can be successful after Guardiola. They are being linked with players that they're being linked with firepower, right? Absolute firepower. Like Pedro Neto. Transfer News Live reported on the 25th of July, which was what? I don't even know what the date is today. What is the date today? That was yesterday, right? Transfer News Live reported yesterday Manchester City are considering a move for Chelsea winger Pedro Neto this summer. Enzo Maresca is weighing up a potential reunion with the Portuguese star as uncertainty continues around Neto's future at Stamford Bridge. The source for that being the Daily Mail, right? So take that with a pinch of salt. But, so we're seeing Liverpool being linked with Barcola, Arsenal being linked with Barcola, Arsenal being linked with Vinicius, Liverpool being linked with Diomande, Real Madrid being linked with Diomande, right? Serious clubs. Serious clubs. And we're being linked with Pedro Neto. Pedro Neto. Right? I'm tired. I'm so tired. Enzo, bro, I wanted you to be Pep Guardiola's successor. I'm a fan of you, Enzo Maresca, right? But you wanting to sign Enzo Fernandez, Pedro Neto and Malo Gusto is absurd. Have you lost your marbles? What do you mean you want to sign Pedro Neto? You have worked with this guy for almost a year and a half, if not a year and a half. You have seen what this guy is capable of. You have seen this guy's ceiling. The same with Malo Gusto. But I think this one is arguably worse. Because I know some people will tell me that they think Malo Gusto is good. And I'll agree to disagree. But if anybody comes to me and tells me that Pedro Neto is good, I'll tell them they've lost their mind. They've lost their mind. And I'll question whether they've been lobotomized or not. Like, that's the level. I think you've lost it if you tell me you think Pedro Neto is good. So, we're looking at getting rid of Savinho to Spurs, which I think is a good deal. I think would be a very, very good deal for City. I don't think he's going to make it at City. And if he does, I think we're going to have to be a lot more patient than we kind of have the time to be, especially under Maresca. I think if it was under Pep and we had Pep for another season, we could afford to be patient. But with Maresca coming in, we need instant impact. And I don't think Savinho is going to give us that right. So we'd be looking to sell Savinho. To sign somebody that is older than Savinho, that has reached their ceiling and is probably worse than Savinho is right now. So Savinho's got a lot to improve on, has not reached his ceiling and still has a lot of potential, right? He's what, 22 years old, 21, 22 years old at Savinho, right? We'd sell him and replace him with Pedro Neto, who is basically the finished article, will not get much better than he is already. And I'd argue Savinho is better than Pedro Neto. Like, do you get what I'm trying to say? Are we deeping how absurd it is? Are we deeping how crazy it is for us to be linked with Pedro Neto? Right? Well, other clubs are being linked with Vinicius Jr., somebody that has been a runner-up in the Ballon d'Or. Diomande, who is one of the most highly rated up-and-coming talents in the world right now. In Europe, in the world. And Bradley Barcola, who's won 2 Champions Leagues on the bounce at PSG. And we are being linked with Conference League winner Pedro Neto. And if anybody wants to come in here and say Neto's champions of the world because he won the Club World Cup, I'll ban you permanently from my chat. Because that's shameless behaviour. Because this guy is terrible. Right? And if we actually want to talk about how bad Pedro Neto is, right? You know when you see compilations for footballers, right? You see the compilations that footballers have of their best moments, right? And you have to take them with a pinch of salt because it is, of course, only their best moments. And they're not going to, include the parts where they're dross. So you're kind of being sold a lie, basically, right? Should we look at Pedro Neto's best moments from last season and see if we think Pedro Neto's best moments last season, his best moments, right? So we're not watching him. I'm not being disingenuous and showing you guys him at his worst. I am showing you what somebody deems Pedro Neto to be at his best, right? I'm showing you what someone deems Pedro Neto to be at his best. And we are about to analyse whether we think that he is good enough to play for Manchester City. Shout out Paz, I'm stealing this idea from you. I'm being shameless. Right, so let's go. Let's go back to reaction mode. Pedro Neto, 2026. Outstanding skills and goals. Dribbling, assists. So I am expecting to see some outstanding world-class winger play from Pedro Neto here. Is what I'm expecting to see, ladies and gentlemen. Alright, cold celebration. Again, cold celebration. Cold. But let's see the actual football. Because if the only thing I compliment is this celebration, it's a dark day. You know what? Fair. I already have preconceived agendas about Neto. And I feel like this video is going to prove my point. Right? And from watching that clip there, it kind of has proven my point. You know? But we'll keep going. We will look and see how many of these clips really impress me. Because even there, right? Even there, I don't think that. I think he's got lucky. Again, lucky there. I wholeheartedly believe. Again, but he's got space to run into. Is he going to create the chance, or is the clip going to cut before the final action? Ugh, iffy cross. Alright, go on. He's round his man. Are we going to see the cross? Is there a final action? Fairs. He found his man at the back stick. And, you know, I do believe that Neto can cross the ball. Right? I think when he actually decides to cross the ball, he does have a good cross on him. But, again, that is something I feel about Savinho as well. Again, there, that's a good cross. There. Okay, that's fair. I respect that. We respect that. Then he goes inside. Again, we don't see the final action, so he's absolutely scuffed the shot. I mean, a decent effort, but again, I don't know how many times you beating the goalkeeper with that kind of shot from that angle. Again, should he do better there? Should he do better there? Oh, bro, what does that? Nah. What does that mean? Nah, Vibes, what does that mean? Now, let me go back full screen to address you here quickly. Well, what does that mean? Well, what do you mean? What do you mean by when does this episode start? What do you mean by that? That we're in the episode now, no? Am I talking to football? Well, right now I'm not talking football because once again you've sidetracked me. Are we not talking football right now? Was I not just analysing Pedro Neto's play? Was I not just showcasing to you why Pedro Neto's best moments from last season are extremely average and something you'd expect 90% of Premier League wingers to be able to do on a weekly basis? Yeah, that's what I thought. Anyway. Back to this, right? Again, a lot of this. I mean, fair, like, the touch inside. No, you know what, right? I'll give it. You know what? I'll give it to him here. I'll actually give it to him there. The check back inside there, round his man, is filth. Fairs. That's one. Like, that's one. Okay, that's one. That's one. Again, here, I just feel like he runs into a dead end every single time. You know, a cheeky 1-2 Augusto there, but of course Gusto doesn't score. Oh, that's what I'm saying, Vibes, bro. That's what I'm saying. Like this is just average stuff you'd expect to see from any winger in the league, though. And this is meant to be his best moments. Like, none of this has blown me away, and this is meant to be his highlights from the year. I've been overly impressed by one thing he's done in how long has this video been on? In 3 minutes of his highlights, I've been impressed once. But I think I've watched enough of that. I don't think I need to watch the full 8 minutes to show that my opinions on Neto have just been like solidified there. What he does is, yeah. So, do you know a tram, right? If any of you have been to like Blackpool, right? Let's use Blackpool as an example. And then Blackpool have the tram, right? And they have the tram lines in the ground that, you know, they run on. A bit like a train. Obviously, a train has to stick to a track the same way a tram has to stick to a track, right? And it usually goes in a straight line, right? That's what Pedro Neto's like on the wing. You get him out wide and he just runs on one track. And then he gets to a dead end, which we saw multiple times, and he tries to twist and turn his way out of this dead end. And then he'll either be dispossessed or he'll be fouled. And if he's fouled, fair enough, you've won a free kick in the final third in a cross-it position. But if he gets dispossessed, then there's no point. And we've seen that he can cross the ball, right? And I've known that he can cross the ball. You know, we've seen it in those clips, and I knew that beforehand. But him actually being able to get the cross in is very few and far between, because he just runs into a dead end every time. He runs into a narrow corridor, which is met by a dead end. And then when he turns around, he's got two people behind him and he can't get out. And like, he's not even got a good goal output. His finishing's not great. His finishing's not great. So, we're wanting to sell Savinho, who has promise, right? He might not be the best right now, but he has promise. And we want to replace him with somebody that is the finished article and isn't better than Savinho. What are we doing as a football club? What are we doing as a football club? Like, if we actually sign this guy, I'm being so serious, I will stop watching the sport. Like, Malo Gusto, Enzo Fernandez, sure. Okay, cool. I don't want to sign either of those two, yeah? But this guy, right? Because, again, people can argue with me on whether Malo Gusto is good at football, and I can agree to disagree. People can argue with me whether they think Enzo Fernandez is worth the money, and we can agree to disagree, like I've already said. But nobody in their right mind can tell me Pedro Neto is good at football. We have literally just watched his best moments from last season. We've watched, what, 3 minutes of it, if not 4 minutes of it, of an 8-minute video, and I was impressed one singular time, and that is meant to be his best moments. So if that's his best moments, and there's only an 8-minute video of it, what are his worst moments? And how long is that video? Do you know what I mean? And again, now, right? Again, now let's do a bit more research. Let's look at a statistical output from both players last season. So, Savinho, right? Obviously, 22-year-old Savinho. If we now go and look at his stats from last season, right? Transfer Market is potentially the slowest website of all time. Like, can anybody name me a slower website than Transfer Market? This website is so bad. And then let me get Pedro Neto stats up right now as well, right? Let's have a little look. Let's have a slight gander, right? Let's have a slight gander. And while I'm getting this up, right, and we've got a slight bit of dead air, make sure to like the stream if you haven't already. Make sure to like the stream if you have not already. Again, Transfer Market, terrible, like very, very important website, but the functionality of it is crazy. But yeah, no, like the stream, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, man. Like, all the good stuff, right? So, we've got Pedro Neto, who's 26, and Savinho, who's 22. In 34 Premier League games, one of them got 5 goals and 6 assists. And then in all comps, they played 52 games, got 10 goals, 10 assists. The other one, oh my, never mind. You know what? I thought, you know what, right? You know what? I'm going to admit defeat on this one, right? I'm going to admit defeat on this one. Because although I don't think although I don't think Neto's return of 10 goals and 10 assists in 52 games is great, I completely forgot that Savinho registered 4 goals and 3 assists in 36. So you know what? I'm going to admit defeat on that point. Pedro Neto had a far better season than Savinho, right? But am I going to want a winger that is getting 10 goals and 10 assists in all comps? 5 in the Prem. 5 goals in the Prem, 6 assists in the Prem, right? Am I really wanting that to be my benchmark when I don't think that his dribbling is all that impressive? Because I could settle for Doku getting 5 goals and 6 assists in the Prem because of how good he is on the ball and all the space he creates. But when you're as limited as Pedro Neto is, am I really thinking that those stats are good enough? Because, let me just point this out, right? Neto got 10 goals and 10 assists in all competitions last season in 52 games. Since January, since joining Manchester City, Semenyo played 27 games, scored 11 times and got 3 assists. You're not... Vibes, bro. No one wants Madueke. You were literally the only club that wanted Madueke. Nobody, not even Chelsea want Madueke. That's why they sold him to you. KG, bro. Stop trying to flog your trash on me, bro. Stop trying to flog your trash on me, bro. Stop it, man. Please. Go. Just because Arsenal won't buy your dross anymore doesn't mean we have to start buying it. It doesn't mean that. I don't want to see Pedro Neto play for my club. Like, and I know you also don't want to see Pedro Neto play for your club. But the point being, right, you're stuck with him. Yeah, you have him, so you have to deal with that. Right? I'm sure there's some other club, some other stupid club that will pay the money for him. You know? I mean, Villa, they've already bought Garnacho off you. Watkins might be going to Manchester United. Maybe Villa want Pedro Neto. Can Neto play in the 9? You're sick. You're poorly, bro. Are you trying to get your get back for Sterling? Nah, you're trying to get your get back for Sterling, bro. We didn't mean for it to go that bad. If I'm honest, I didn't think Sterling was going to be that bad, bro. We gave you Palmer. You don't need to give us Neto. Madueke has more Prem titles than Semenyo, so you should buy... Bro, stop trying to pitch me Madueke. I don't want Madueke. I don't need to watch Madueke. I've watched Savinho. And you know, I would rather watch Madueke. I would rather watch Madueke than watch Neto, right? Okay, cool. That is facts. Do I think Rodri will leave this summer? Yeah, 100%. 100%. I think it's done and dusted. Villa will get Nicholas Jackson. Oh, is that true? Do you think that, KG? Can I put money on that? The Bet365 offer, like, do they offer odds on that? I might need to put money on that, KG. And I'll split the profits with you if that comes in. Tell you what though. No, I honestly think you're better off keeping Jackson. I think the lap's the one you've got to flog. The lap's the one you've got to flog, if I'm honest. If you're gonna sell one of your 9s, it has to be the lap, surely. Because he just didn't impress at all. And I'm someone that rates the lap. I wanted the lap to succeed at City, but of course we went and got Haaland, so there was no chance of that. But I rated the lap highly, and I thought he was going to succeed at Chelsea. But what I saw from him, oh, good God. Good God. Yeah, Vibes, bro, I'm going to say something stupid like that again, and I'm timing you out of this chat. What do you mean you'll swap Madueke for Semenyo and Haaland? I will time you out of this chat permanently if you say something as stupid as that to me ever again. Right? Those are words that should not be combined in the English language. But yeah, no, KG, as I was saying, like, Delap didn't impress. When him and Pedro and João Pedro were combining with Delap in the 9 and Pedro in the 10, I was actually disgusted at what I was watching. I was so disgusted and appalled by what I was watching in front of my very eyes. I felt physically sick. I felt physically sick watching those two play football together. Whereas, like, I don't think Jackson's bad. I don't think Jackson's that bad. Like, he has his bozo moments. We've all seen his bozo moments. But he offered more than Delap. Offered a lot more than Delap. What are the chances that Rodri could stay at City? I think there's a chance he stays for this season, but after this season he's 100% gone. So I think there's like a 40-35% chance that he stays this season, but after that he's gone. He's 100% going to Madrid. I mean, we've seen that they've agreed personal terms with him, apparently with a deal that will be valid until 2030, so a 4-year deal. Obviously he wants to go back to Madrid. Madrid want him. They'd be stupid not to want him. Yeah, and I was going to say, before this news of Vinicius renewing his contract, I would have been in for Vinicius. I would have been in for Vinicius, you know, because, like, Real Madrid are wanting to play 60 million euros for Rodri, which I think is too low. It's too low, right? It's 100% too low. 60 million euros for Rodri is too low. And I would have tried to be like, okay, cool, you have Rodri, or we give you some money plus Rodri for Vinicius, or you give us Vinicius plus some money for Rodri, and we can work this out. But if Vinicius wants to stay at Real Madrid, then that's going to be difficult. It's not a bargaining chip we can use. Bro, will Savinho ever leave City at this point? Bro, I think Spurs might have used up all their money. I think we might have missed our mark on that, because Spurs have spent way too much money. I think we might have missed our mark, but hopefully Savinho is out with the club soon, because I'm just not seeing it with him, man. I'm not seeing it with him. I don't see the vision, you know. Some players you see the vision and you see how it's gonna work out. Savinho, not one of them, bro. He's not one of them. Okay, he's not one of those players where I'm looking at him and I'm thinking, yeah, like, you're going to come good soon. I actually think he's regressed. Whereas Doku, right, because people will compare him to Doku because Doku had a bit of a slow start to his City career, right? People will compare him to Doku. I think Doku, we saw gradual progression in his performances. Although he was inconsistent, it was gradually getting better. Whereas Savinho was a lot better in his first season than he was last season. And that's by a huge difference. Even if we look at the numbers, like I said with Savinho, right, he played 36 games in all competitions last season, scored 4 goals and got 3 assists and got 4 yellow cards. He got more yellow cards in the Prem than he got goals, and he got the same amount of yellow cards in all competitions as he got goals, right? So 36 games, all comps, 4 goals, 3 assists, 1 goal in the Prem, 2 assists in the Prem, right? Then we go back to his first season, where he gets 3 goals in all comps, 1 in the Prem, 1 in the Champions League, 1 in the Club World Cup. But he gets 10 assists in the Prem, 1 assist in the Champions League, and again gets 4 yellow cards. So he actually had a significantly worse season last season. Okay, he played less minutes. He played around 2,000 less minutes than he did the season prior. But that was because his performances weren't good enough to justify him being in the starting 11 over Shirky, over Foden, over Semenyo when he came in. He's gotten worse. And his competition at the club now has gotten better. So he's got to fight harder and harder to get into the team. And I'm just not seeing it. I'm not seeing the fight or hunger from him to compete for his spot. He wants to, from what I can see, he wants to go somewhere where he's just going to be nailed on their starter and then he can cook. He doesn't want to fight for his place. If he doesn't want to do that, he can go. He doesn't have to do that. You know, maybe if he had a better season last season than he did in his first season, I'd be more inclined for him to stay. But with the fact that it went downhill and I don't see it improving anytime soon, I don't really want Savinho to stay, if I'm honest. Vini wanting to stay is music to my ears after seeing Arsenal was interested. The man is a club destabilizer. Is that 100% true though? Like, do you 100% think that's true, or do you think that's a bit of agenda seeping into that? Do you think you're buying into some agendas there that are sort of clouding your judgment? Because I don't think he actually would disrupt the dressing room as much as some people would think, right? Especially under a manager like Arteta that doesn't really stand for that. Savinho was the best crosser in our team. It's now Núñez. But Savinho at that point, with De Bruyne being in and out of the squad due to injury, Savinho was our best crosser. That's not ridiculous to say. And Savinho is not the worst player you've ever seen in your life. Trust me, there have been worse players to play for City than Savinho. And Savinho was 100% City's best crosser at one point. I think you're being disingenuous to say that Savinho was not City's best crosser, because he was. Right? If we actually look at what he was doing in his first season, it was actually quite impressive. People were clowning on him for not getting a goal, right, and taking ages to score, but he was putting in good performances. I mean, if we again look at that first season, right, he gets 2 assists on game week 2 against Ipswich, and then he gets another assist against Arsenal for Haaland's 100th goal at City in game week 5. And then, okay, he blanks a bit from game week 5, obviously down to game week 19, where he gets his first and only goal of the season and an assist against Leicester. Then he bags 3 assists in a 4-1 win against West Ham in the next game week. He then gets another assist when we lose 5-1 to Arsenal. Then gets an assist the following week against Newcastle, and then assist again against Leicester on game week 30. Like, he was putting in some consistent performances. It wasn't consistent throughout the full season. Bro, you can't say, wallahi, Savinho is the worst player you've seen, bro. Because I know that's not true. I actually know that's not true. I know that's not true. Right? That is 110% not true. I'm sorry, it's not. Right? If I'm looking at some of the players that have played for City, right? Yeah, we're even forgetting Calvin Phillips. There is no way, right? Like, I'm telling you, yeah, there is no way you think Savinho is worse than Calvin Phillips. I'm sorry, you don't think that. That's not true. You don't think that. Right? That's not an opinion you have. So Savinho cannot be the worst. He's nowhere near the best, but he's not worse than Phillips. Right? Let's just get that one out there. He's had more benefit to the club than Mendy did when Mendy was at the club, from a footballing sense. No, Savinho is... Oh, wallah, you've lost it. If you actually... you're rage baiting me, bro. You're not trying to tell me Savinho is on the same level as Phillips. There is no way you think, yeah, that Savinho is on the same level. You're making me defend Savinho. I didn't think this would happen, but you're not now trying to tell me you think Savinho is on the same level as Phillips. Now, you've gone mental, bro. You have gone mad. There's no way you believe that. I don't get that. Bro, but Bro, even still, nah, bro, I don't know. You can't just, you've got to judge both seasons, bro. You can't just judge one season. Because even so, if we're even going to judge just off last season, Oscar Bob, yeah, if we're going off just last season alone, Oscar Bob was worse than Savinho. Oscar Bob was worse than Savinho last season, 100%. 110%. And I'm a fan of Oscar Bob. I hope Oscar Bob does well at Fulham. I was very sad to see the way the injury impacted his City career, and I was happy to see him do well at the World Cup. But you've gone mad if you think that he was better than Savinho last season when he played for City. Even when he played for Fulham, he still wasn't better than Savinho. You've gone mental. If you truly believe that, you've gone mad. You're off the charts. Anyway, Vice, what were you saying about Vinicius? I just think that it could destroy what he's built. He comes in and instantly butts heads with Arteta, will take the focus away from the performances, and I don't see him tracking back like Arteta wants. But you don't... The thing is, yeah, when you're a player of Vinicius' caliber, do you need to track back? Would he actually need to track back? Because, okay, you have players and teams like Arsenal that are very well drilled, and Arteta wants everybody to regroup as quick as possible to stop a counter-attack, right? He likes that defensive structure out of possession when you lose the ball to win it back quickly. Instead of instantly pressing and letting teams pass through you, Arteta obviously wants you to drop back into shape and then press. Or maybe not even press and just to sit a block, right? Depending on who you're playing against, right? Would it really be that bad if you had somebody as destructive as Vinicius on the counter and he wasn't tracking back? Would that really be a bad thing? Now, if you already had 2 or 3 players, like let's say you had Salah on the right who doesn't track back, and then you had Vinicius on the left, yes, I could see that being an issue. But Saka puts in the work rate, Noni puts in the work rate. Would it really be that bad to have one player that's as vicious on the in transition as Vinicius not track back? I don't think so. I don't think his impact, like from a backroom point of view, would be as bad as people make it out to be. I just think when a player plays for Real Madrid, you think they're a lot more petulant and a lot more arrogant than they actually are because of the environment and the sort of reputation that comes with Real Madrid, right? Once you join Real Madrid, the way people view you is different. You can't be humble and play for Real Madrid. It's impossible. It's impossible. Or you can't be viewed as humble. I'm not saying you can't be humble and play for Real Madrid, but you can't be viewed as humble and play for Real Madrid. It's impossible. You could put what? N'Golo Kante. The one player that everybody thinks is humble and could do no wrong, N'Golo Kante, right? Put N'Golo Kante in Real Madrid and his PR changes. It's very difficult to be seen as humble when you play for Real Madrid. So your attitude and the way people see you can be distorted by what club you play for. I mean, we were told that Shirky was going to disrupt our dressing room and be a problem, and his attitude wouldn't cut it at City. Pep, didn't have any issues with him. He might have been frustrated at him being a maverick on the pitch a few times, but there wasn't any issues other than him needing to lose weight and go to Pep Guardiola fat camp for the first 2 months of the season. There wasn't that many issues. I mean, there might still be issues to come under Maresca. Maybe he won't respect Maresca. Who knows? It might have just been the Pep effect. Who knows? But it's one of those things where I don't think Vinicius would disrupt your dressing room that much. I think with Gyökeres sitting front as well, it will cause more problems than people think. No, I don't think so, because I think it would be more beneficial for Gyökeres. Because Vinicius is very good with linking up with that 9. I mean, we saw it with Benzema, right? If you can even get half of the partnership with Gyökeres and Vinicius, you're cooking. You are. And that's the one reason why I'd want to see him at City. If we push Doku out onto the right, because Doku can play on the right, and we have Vinicius on the left linking up with Haaland, I think that's so destructive in transition. And that's the one reason why I'd be open to seeing him play for City. I think he could recapture his form at City as well. And we're seeing how buddy is with Haaland at World Cup. And obviously Haaland being one of the main reasons we signed you just got me saying Gyökeres. We signed Donnarumma. And with his massive pool power at the club, because he's obviously here for 10 years, got a big contract. He has a say at what happens at the club, transfer-wise. I could see it happening. 2 players staying forward will destroy the style Arteta likes to deploy. But, Havertz is I don't know. It kind of depends who you deploy up top. But I don't think Vinicius would be a huge L for Arsenal. If I'm honest, I don't think he would be that bad. I think he would be a bit of a net positive if I'm honest. But we'll agree to disagree on that one. And if it happens, then we'll see in it. But I also don't know how he'd cope with the physicality of the Premier. Again, that is an issue, right? But he's a winger, though. He's a winger, and he's already somebody that kind of gets that kind of treatment where people don't like him. They think he's arrogant, so they run into him anyway. He already gets that sort of treatment, and I don't think the physicality of the Premier League is really a factor when we judge wingers. It is when we judge midfielders and strikers and defenders, right? But I think wingers, when we look at some of the wingers in this league, right? Gordon's obviously not in the league anymore. We look at Gordon. Last season, we look at like Doku, Savinho, and these type of players. They're not strong. Like, they've got some upper body strength, but they're not strong. 9 times out of 10, you'll see them like shoved into the advertising boards. Like, I don't know. I think his speed as well, is just second to none. Like, his speed is so destructive, and I don't think many fullbacks in the league would be able to. Deal with that. Me personally, I am not, but people in the family are. But me personally, no. No. Where were we? I just got sidetracked. We were talking Vinicius, right? But yeah, as much as it now doesn't look like he'd go to Arsenal, I think it's again a Rodrigo sort of situation where sort of he's been linked with all these clubs in the summer, but there's no real interest, and it's just speculation for clicks. I don't think we'll see Vinicius leave Real Madrid, especially with what's been reported. What I said earlier, with it looking like that Real Madrid want to keep him and he will sign a new contract. I think Arsenal need to make statement signings this window, but I'm just worried we'll make a mistake. But you can't play it too safe. But again, though, like, that's where teams go wrong. I mean, you look at Liverpool after they won their first league title. They just signed Thiago, and it went it went south. Like, they needed more reinforcements. They got hit with a huge injury crisis and they fell off. And of course, last season they signed a lot of players and still fell off. But like, there was a chance that was gonna work. Whereas I don't think just signing Thiago was just gonna work. Do I think City will sign Boadi? I think from everything I've heard, it's a very close to being a deal done, and especially if Rodri leaves, another midfielder, a promising midfielder in the door, I do think that is a deal that will be done. But I just don't think he'd see that much game time next season for City, if at all. He might even go straight back out on loan. I don't think he'd be an important part to the team straight away. I think it would be naive to throw him in the deep end, especially at his age. But again, my only worry with signing him is he that one player that has a good World Cup? Everyone buys his stocks, and we're in a Golovin situation, Leao or Barcola, in my opinion, I'd want Barcola. I get Leao. I've never been impressed with Leao. And people might call me crazy for saying that, but for any time I've watched Leao, I've never been that impressed with watching Leao. I've never really been that. Barcola, I get. I mean, his end product's a bit iffy. But I think he's definitely better than Leao. Leao, I've never really been too sold on Leao. Never really been that sold on him, if I'm honest. Again, I could be wrong. I haven't watched extensive amounts of him, but when I've watched him, he's not blown me away. Whereas I've seen Barcola performances that have had me on the edge of my seat, Like, I think Barcola's the play when out of those two. How about keep Rodri for at least one more season? The thing is, though, if Real Madrid are going to come in for the bid this summer, I think City will accept it. As much as I'd want to keep Rodri for another summer, I think if the bid comes in, Rodri goes. If the bid comes in, Rodri goes, because we do need to recruit money for the Anderson signing. As much as I don't think the money's that important, and Rodri for one more season is more important than the money, I think the club will obviously want to recoup some money for signing Anderson and get rid of Rodri while we still can get some money for him. I think he was electric for Portugal at the Walker. Bro, I'm sorry. I don't know, man. I don't know. Again, I just wasn't seeing it with him. Maybe I need to watch more Leao, but I don't see it with him personally. I've never really bought his hype. He's one player that he's never really moved me to the extent that that some people say he's moved them. Like, it's not a player that excites me when I watch him. You know, he's not. I don't think he's that great. I think he's good. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think he's like elite. But that's just my opinion in it. Like, is there anything else we need to discuss? Is there anything else that needs to be discussed here? Because I obviously just wanted to hop on for this. One moment. Oh wait, no, never mind. But yeah, no, I just wanted to hop on for this Sunday stream to discuss some of these transfer links that have come out and get your guys' opinion on it, because bro, that Vinicius news came out of nowhere, right? Obviously, I feel like the Neto news, obviously on Thursday, I was joking with KG about the potential of Neto coming to Man City, right? And us just signing terrible Chelsea players. I think I kind of manifested that one by accident. But the Vinicius news was crazy, and I'm actually going to keep my eye on that, because it being reported that he wants to stay at Real Madrid and they want to offer him a new contract. Do I 100% believe that? Not really. But that will sort of lead into what Patrick of True City Fans was telling me yesterday, where he said that he 100% doesn't think Vinicius will ever leave Real Madrid. Oh man, Tom, you've actually hit me with that. We've got the Yandy on Monday. Here we go to Real Madrid. Agreement closed tonight with RB Leipzig for a fee of 100 million euros for the Ivorian winger. Diomande will fly to Madrid this week for medical tests and contract until 2031. Wow, Tom, bro. You've just come in clutch there with telling me that. I hadn't refreshed my Twitter page. And you saying that has made me hit the refresh and I just see that Fab tweet. Let me get that one up on stream. Let's get that one up on the stream, guys. Here we are. Here you are. As I've just said, Yan Diomande, here we go. 100 million euros. Real Madrid have their new right winger. Obviously, Rodrigo injured. Not been at his best the last few seasons. Obviously, Brahim Diaz, not somebody you want playing off of the right, if I'm honest. More of a central player. And obviously Yan Diomande. You know, a lot of the links with Diomande were more people thinking that was definitely Vinicius going. But now, bro, Perez has taken this 2 trophyless seasons in a row personally. He's got the defenders in. Now, Madrid are looking scary, bro. They finally got some decent depth in the back line. Dumfries, obviously, Konate. They've still got Trent, Cucurella. Obviously, they're going to be signing Rodri, Diomande, Vinicius, Mbappe. Bro, Real Madrid could be back. This could now mean they sell Vinicius to buy Rodri. I don't know. With it being said that they want to pay 60 million euros for Rodri, what is 60 million euros when you really think about it? What is 60 million euros when we're talking about Rodri? Would they need to sell Vinicius to fund Rodri? But that's huge news. That is actually huge news. If Vinicius does agree to extend, right, and sign a new deal, Mbappe in the 9, right? Kylian Mbappe in the 9, who had a good, despite going trophyless, put up good numbers for Real Madrid last season, right? Jose Mourinho to restore order in their dressing room, right? Diomande on the right. Bellingham, Rodri, with Valverde in the midfield. And then you've got Trent, Dumfries, Konate, Cucurella and Courtois. That is crazy business. Real Madrid could finally get their hands on their treble that they've wanted, bro. That's crazy business. Yeah, I know. Rodri's worth a lot. He's worth a lot. But given the fact that he doesn't want to sign a new contract, we wouldn't be able to get much more than the money that Real Madrid are offering. We wouldn't be able to get that. Obviously, it has, like I've said, it's been reported that he has agreed personal terms with Real Madrid for a contract to 2030. So if they've got personal terms agreed, right, and he wants Real Madrid with 1 year left on his City contract, and they're willing to only play pay 60 million euros, with it being reported City are demanding 80. I don't think they need to sell anyone to fund that. I don't think they do. With the amount of revenue that Real Madrid make as a brand, they don't need to sell anybody to fund that. So Real Madrid are creating a super team with Jose Mourinho as their man. They look scary, bro. They look scary. Real Madrid could be back after 2 shaky seasons. After signing Mbappe, Real Madrid could be back. This is looking scary. I know, Lamar, if you're still here, you're gassed. You're gassed looking at this. You're gassed because they've got some serious talent across the board in this team now. They don't have one area where I'm looking at a team and I'm thinking, in a starting 11 point of view, you need to upgrade. So that is huge. That is huge for Real Madrid. That is huge for Real Madrid, obviously. Diamonde off the table now for Liverpool, which probably now means they will step up their pursuit of Bradley Barcola. And obviously, if Real Madrid are happy to offer Vini a new contract, that means Arsenal are still also going to be in a head-to-head race with Liverpool for Barcola's signature. He has give the here we go for Rodri. I'm not seeing that. I've got Rodri's name in on my search bar here. I'm not. Oh, they've got Bernardo as well. Yes, but I don't think Bernardo is, when you look at the 3 midfielders that I've named, is Bernardo the one that you look at and think, wow. When you've got midfielders like Jude Bellingham, Rodri, potentially, most definitely, and Valverde, are you really looking at Bernardo? Like, are we really looking at him there and thinking he's the one? Like, are we really thinking like Bernardo's the one in that midfield? Like, he's a very useful option. It'll probably be a rotation option. But when you have the potential of a midfield of Jude, Valverde, and Rodri, like, Rodri is not the most mobile player. You've got Valverde doing all the running next to him. That's crazy business. Like, I actually think they will be very, very hard to stop. If all things go to plan for Real Madrid, which it looks like they will, they're going to be very, very difficult to stop in the La Liga and in the Champions League. It will take a minor miracle to stop them, if I'm totally honest. In transition as well, they're going to cook. Like, they're going to be so good. They're going to be so good, and I think they have 100% cooked so far this transfer window, and we're obviously, like, the season's not even started yet. Obviously, it was reported as well that Arsenal were ready to make Vinicius their highest paid player in the club's history, looking to offer him 400 grand a week. I don't think that's going to happen now. In my opinion, I think we should sell. Yeah, Jack, you've lost your mind, bro. I can't co-sign. I can't co-sign anything you're saying, bro. I can't co-sign anything you're saying, but. Nah, huge up Tom, dropping the huge news. For the Diamonde news before I missed that. A Spurs, please don't sell us Savinho, bro. Unfortunately, it has to happen. I'm sorry, it has to happen, bro. Think about it, yeah. You beat us every season. We need to now try and lower your chances of beating us next season by selling you Savinho. Like, that's only right. It's the right thing to do. It literally is the right thing to do. Our whole aim is to win every game, win as many games as possible. So how do you beat Spurs? Well, you lower their chances of beating you. How do you lower Spurs' chance of beating you? You sell them Savinho. Oh, it's going good, man. It's going good. It has been a while, bro. I've been inactive. I got a huge burnout at the end of the season. Like, I wasn't really feeling the World Cup. Obviously, there was a bit of World Cup content, but I wasn't really feeling making content around it. I was just kind of enjoying watching it. But yeah, no. Well, we'll definitely have to jump on soon. I actually will message you probably after this stream for an idea that I've got going on in the background. I've got a few ideas for stuff I want to do next season. I want next season to be a big season and a big time to be on this channel. So I've got a few shows that I'm working on in the background and sort of working on the logistics of. And there's one that I've got you in mind for. So I'll hit you up with that idea, because there's a weekly or maybe even bi-weekly, depending on what news there is. There's a show that I've got, a live show that I think we could definitely run. Just do me a favor and beat Arsenal, bro. Do you know how we do that? By not losing 6 points to Spurs every season. Like this is why I needed Spurs to be relegated. Yeah, this was it. I needed Spurs to be relegated because it guaranteed 6 more points for Manchester City in a season where we might not be as good as we once was. And so 6 points is everything, right? That's why I needed Spurs relegated. But unfortunately, you're still in this league, which means you're probably going to beat us twice, maybe once, and we'll blow another 2-goal lead like we did last season and put in an embarrassing performance. So you're going to have to take Savinho, unfortunately. Like something needs to happen to prevent this from continuing. Something has to happen, because I can't keep watching the performances we put in against you. It is the most embarrassing thing every single time. It is the most embarrassing thing every single time. And I have friends that are Spurs fans, and we have this conversation. We're like, bro, how does this happen every single time? But yeah, man. But that has all finally been all for today. You know, I'm gonna quickly refresh Twitter again to see if I get flashbanged with any more news. But I think that is gonna be the end of today's show, right? So obviously, like the stream if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We'll be back again with Nathaniel Talks Ball Wednesday, 7:30, maybe 7. Keep an eye on my live tab on the channel. Obviously, click the notification bell so you're always up to date with all of my uploads, right? But keep an eye on the live tab to see what time the next episode of this live show will be going ahead, because it will either be 7 or 7:30 on Wednesday. It kind of just depends on what time I get home, if I'm honest. But yeah, I hope you guys all enjoyed the show. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday evening.